Well, back there, they had the luxury that even if they were wrong, who's going to see it? Who's going to prove you were wrong?
Right.
The day of social media and TV, you make a mistake, everybody knows it. So you've got two choices. You either own it, that I made a mistake and I messed it up, or hopefully, if you got the use of replay, you can fix it.
Hey, hit that subscribe button now. You're going to like it. Welcome to the Luke Branquinho Show. My next guest is a 3-time PRCA NFR qualifier and 5-time, is that right, ROYD? PBR qualifier?
Yes, sir. 5 times.
5 times. So this guy has been there, done that, but what he's been there doing that now is as a PRCA, PBR, WCRA, and American judge. So ROYD, you have got to see, experience, make a lot of very, very important calls that has a lot to do with how these athletes get up and down the road financially.
Yes, sir. I've been lucky to be involved in a couple of different times where guys have won $1 million or even $2 million. So our job's pretty important.
Well, important is exactly right, and nobody more than you guys wants the call to be right. You're not going there thinking, if I mess up, whatever. You guys want it to be called right. Even if you're wrong, you still want that right to be made.
That's exactly right. I mean, every judge that doesn't have the luxury of replays got a call when a rodeo's over. He's thinking in the back of his head, was that right or wrong? You know, and they're trying to do their best to do it right.
Well, and that's the hot topic. I mean, this is something that we've seen last week. We've seen it again at Austin. You see it everywhere at these big rodeos. And it's a call that could have been overturned with instant replay or could have changed the outcome of the event to the person that was supposed to, I guess, say win, was supposed to be the winner. And you've got to experience in the PBR, especially how that instant replay has helped make those calls that, and you don't want to say the bad call. You just want to say the wrong call. The wrong call, and you guys made it right with these instant replays.
Yeah, the luxury of the PBRs, they've had replay around for probably almost 20 years now, maybe a little longer. But it's kept some guys from winning a pile of money they weren't supposed to, and it's helped other guys to win a pile of money they were supposed to because they have the ability to challenge a call, or a judge feels like they missed something. They have the ability to go back and look at a replay and make sure it's getting as close as they can to getting it right.
Well, and what you said right there, the judge has the opportunity to say, hey, I need to look back at that to make sure I made the right call. That is something we have not seen yet in the PRCA. We've seen it, or the American, we've seen it at the WCRA and obviously the PBR, which was kind of the first to bring it into the Western sports, and then WCRA followed. But it's beyond me, and I've talked with Bobby Mote and a lot of people about this, why the PRCA hasn't adopted this, especially at these big rodeos where there's camera capability, the national finals, where one call like that could make such a huge difference to a contestant.
Well, it's always been mostly a production deal, especially at the national finals rodeo. They've got a certain amount of time they want to run the rodeo in, and they want to have it last any longer than they have to. I feel like there's a way that we can use instant replay there that doesn't add any production time. I think they have all the tools set up. You just need one extra guy that's sitting in front of the monitor. We see it every year. Somebody gets missed out at the gate. They show the replay there for all the fans and all the people at home. The only people that doesn't get the luxury of using it is the 2 or the 4 judges that are there and the contestant. So I think it can be implemented fairly easy and not mess with the production at all.
As a judge, there are some judges out there that, nope, my call stands, that's the way it's going to be, right, wrong, indifferent, that's how it is. But as a judge, and you, like I said, you've got to experience, which most judges do, both sides of it. You got to be a contestant, competitor, and now you get to judge. You as a judge want the right person to win every time.
Exactly. We know how hard it is to get up and down the road. As officials, the only difference between being a contestant, I know what I make when I leave the house. And it's not near as much as I had a capability of making when I was riding, but I have that guarantee. As a contestant, you leave the house, you're just, come home with a lot of money or no money. And sometimes it's a call. Not very often, but sometimes it's just one call that makes that happen.
Well, in your professional riding career, how many times do you feel like an instant replay would have benefited you? You know, obviously you were in the business for a long time.
I would say there was a few times that I was really close to the whistle that I felt like with replay might have made the whistle and got a score, or you know, maybe I got called for a slap that I was positive that I didn't do, so it could have sure enough aided me. I see it a lot more now because we've used it so much where, you know, a guy's confident, I didn't touch a bull. He's got the ability at a PBR or a WCRA, throw the challenge flag and let's just go look at it. And seldom does it get overturned, but when it does, it's usually a benefit for the cowboy.
Well, for sure. And then the cowboy, when it does get overturned, if they throw it in the PBR, is it a $500 fine, or I say fine, a fee, $500 fee? But does that money go, because when we did it at the ERA, that money went to a charity. I don't know if the PBR is the same way.
I believe it's set up the same way at the PBR. I can't tell you the specific charity. I know there's been certain years where there's been a contestant that was injured, or for instance, Mason Lowe a few years ago, he got tragically killed at Denver. I'm pretty sure that one year all the money from the replays went to help his family.
So it's not like, you know, everybody's like, well, the Cowboys getting fined, it's going back into the organization or whatever. No, they try to make it where if there is a challenge and you lose it, it goes into a charity or something like that, which, you know, I think would help put to ease a lot of the people's comments about, well, they're getting fined. But no, it's not necessarily a fine. It's a fee that you didn't, you know, obviously you didn't win your challenge, so you got to pay this fee.
And the misconception on a lot of that is the reason there's a dollar amount on it, because if it doesn't have a dollar amount, it can be abused. It can be guys are asking for a replay just because, you know, there's a chance it might get overturned, instead of knowing, hey, I didn't slap that bull. I'm willing to put my $500 up to say I did. And if it's reviewed and it gets overturned, it doesn't cost him a dime. But if he did actually slap the bull, you know, that's the price you're going to have to pay to be able to use the service. The WCRA, in the timed events, they don't have a charge. And the rough stock on as far as the horse riding, they don't have a charge. And we haven't seen it abused even with no charge there. But that's the reason it was started in the PBR, because it felt like it'd get out of hand if there was no charge at all.
Well, you talk about production. That was in 2009 when I didn't get a call that I thought should have went my way. You know, that was kind of a hot topic then. Well, if they had instant replay, it might have went, you know, towards me, my benefit. But that was the main deal. Production, we can't slow the rodeo down. And even if you did slow it down for 5 minutes to make sure the right person won, it adds value. And I've said this to everybody I talk to. It adds value to our sport. It adds value for the fans. You know, they sit there and get to watch this replay. Why was that a no time when it looked like everything was done right? Or why was that a no score? Okay, now you throw it up on the big screen, and like you said, everybody gets to watch it anyway. Why not explain why it was overturned? You know, I think it just legitimizes us as more of a professional sport.
And I agree with that completely. And I think there's some small intricacies at the NFR. You could tone back a little bit on the time, maybe the opening or the middle when they bring out the stagecoach. Take 30, 45 seconds or a minute off of both of those. You've got 2 minutes now you've freed up for the use of replay. And a replay doesn't take very long to make. For instance, at a WCRA event, and going back to where the judge's call, he likes his call, he doesn't want to change it. I've had very confident guys, I trust their opinion, throw a flag on a guy, and me watching it on the monitor live, I'm agreeing with them, but the guy makes a really great spur ride. I'm not, pretty good chance he's going to want to challenge that and see if it was there or not. By the time he has got back to and through this challenge flag, I've already looked at it on the monitor. I know if he's going to get a call go his way or not. And if it gets overturned, I've never had an official walk back to me after it's over and go, well, thanks a lot, buddy. Wait for taking my call away. They're all like, man, I'm glad you caught that, because that would have cost that guy some money. So, you know, that's, if you have replay, I feel like that's the way you go into it thinking about it. You know, if I can fix a call that I might not have saw exactly right, and in split second, you got to make a decision. Did he mark him out or not? Or was it a crossfire or not? Or did you have your hands on that steer or not? It happens that fast. So, you know, if we can get that right, I think we should use that technology and help us out. We're all trying to make a living out here.
Well, and I feel like, and I think you'd agree, the judges more so now than 10, 15, 20 years ago, they are more apt to get on board with this. I mean, there were some stubborn ass judges out there when I was first started. They're like, nope, that's the call. They didn't want to be wrong, I guess I should say.
Well, back there, they had the luxury that even if they were wrong, who's going to see it? Who's going to prove you were wrong?
Right.
The day of social media and TV, you make a mistake, everybody knows it. So you've got two choices. You either own it, that I made a mistake and I messed it up, or hopefully, if you got the use of replay, you can fix it.
Catania Brothers brings their bold meat flavor front and center with their 100% naturally smoked beef stick. Slow smoked on real hickory wood, the high quality meat stacks are made from American sourced premium beef that is tumbled in hand mixed spices and hung to dry for 3 to 5 days to achieve perfect taste and texture. Easy to eat, portable, and packed with 7 to 9 grams of protein. The beef stick comes in original spicy, which are both sugar-free, plus a teriyaki flavor. Check out the individually wrapped sticks and take one on the go. Visit www.cataniobrothers.com and use code Luke15 for 15% off your next order. Make sure and follow them at Catania Brothers on social media.
And what judge wouldn't want that to, I mean, again, make sure the right person won. And tell me if I'm wrong, but that would relieve a lot of pressure off you guys. I mean, you're focused in on trying to do the best job you can. And say you make a mistake, you feel like you made a mistake on the rider before that. Now that's still on your mind when you're trying to call and judge this next ride.
Exactly. I mean, because you don't want to make the same mistake. Usually a mistake, all it does is sharpen up how you're doing your job. But, you know, going back to being official, I'd like to think you were on your A game every single time there's a contestant competing. But sometimes, you know, something happens. You get blocked or you're not in the right position to make the call, and you don't want to miss the call and cost the other contestants the money they would have earned by making the wrong call. But, you know, tie goes to the runner if you're not sure. Well, here's an opportunity that if I throw the flag because I'm pretty sure he missed him out, or I'm positive he missed him out, he can go look at it and, shoot, maybe I just didn't see that foot was right there at the very last little bit. Or, you know, like the crossfire, that's gotten to be such a hard call for any official in any association. You know, we've got the right camera angles and the ability now to make that call and make it correctly. Why would we not fix it if we can?
Well, and you seem to be, when I'm seeing you, you're with a great group of judges. You're always communicating, say, hey, this is what we saw here. This is what this is what we need to see. You know, Lane Peterson, Mark Gomes, just name it, just a couple of them. But does that judging core help you guys with your confidence in the arena?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you can go judge with guys that you know are competent and that are going to have your back in a controversial call. The PRCA has went to where in the team roping, they've got that third judge down the wall watching, helping with the crossfire. The jerk down, the same deal. And the breakaway, they always have a guy on the other side of the 3-judge rodeo helping make that clean bell collar catch call. Well, if you've got guys you're confident they're going to have your back, they might not agree with your call because they're in a different position or a different angle. But they're going to know you made that call to be as fair as you can to all the contestants, not because you're biased one way or the other.
Now, for a cowboy, because it's happened to me, and I'm not talking about the national finals, when I feel like a call was not made in my favor that should have been, you know, first you go to the line judge. Well, it's not my call. Then you go to the field judge. Well, we need to get this, you know, we need to have our powwow to figure out what was said and what was done. But it seems like sometimes when you approach, not so much now, but when you approach judges back then, it was all of a sudden defense mode went up. You know, they're defensive. Again, so much now with you guys.
Well, I think part of the reason judges have got a lot less defensive is because now, like I said again, you know, if you felt like you made a mistake, you're just going to have to own up to it because somebody's going to see that whether it was a mistake or not. If you're 100% confident in your call, just explain it. And that's where the other side, where the contestants have to understand, once I've gave you my explanation of my call, that's how I saw it. It was nothing personal. It's just a call I'm making.
Right.
A lot of contestants nowadays, because of the use of social media and all the platforms they have to go back and watch their run, they take it offensive because they made the wrong call. This is what I'm seeing. But I had that split little instance to make that call, and this is what I saw.
Right.
Wasn't nothing personal, but I'm just trying to make sure I make the right call for the whole body of contestants, not just you, but the other guys that are entered also, or girls.
Well, and we see that, like I said, the hot topic, Houston, Bo Cooper, barrier doesn't work. I don't know who was on the line, who was judging it, but like you said, he was trying to make the call in an instant like that when the barrier has probably worked the whole entire rodeo of Houston, and then this happens. And I mean, what are your thoughts? You've seen it. I know you've watched it. What is your takeaway from it?
Well, the first thing that the instant replay would help you with is, the barrier malfunction. It pulled off the animal early. That's obvious. It's not obvious to the line judge because he's on the other side, and the neck rope came off on the off side of the calf, so the calf's blocking it for part of that time. But with replay, we've got the score line out on the ground, and you've got where you can see where the calf's at as opposed to the score line, how far the contestants into the barrier, things they don't talk about with the stop on the barrier, which is how far it'll allow it to stretch before it breaks.
Right.
And with the string, you're already giving the contestants most of the time that little 3 or 4 inch cushion to be in the barrier without breaking the barrier. But ultimately, it is the guy on the line's job to say if you obviously beat the barrier or not, and that's the tools are in purpose, that score line out there. Not to make the call, not to make a comment on Houston, but when you watch those pictures, still not sure the right call was made, just probably wasn't made in the right, didn't go about the right way. But he doesn't have the luxury of getting to look at it from 5 different angles in slow motion, tick-tock to see where the calf's got when the horse in the barrier. He's having to make that call himself right there on the line, and it happens fast. And when you don't have anything that can back you up, you got to live with the call you made.
Well, and somebody brought up to me about, well, he sat on that line and it just got dull and wasn't paying attention. I don't necessarily believe that, because when 50,000 on the line, you're focused in it, and you've got to watch run after run. I mean, it gets, I guess, cumbersome there for a while. Just finally, it's almost over, and then boom, the last calf roper, last tie down roper, boom, this happens. Do you kind of get in a little bit of not a rut, but a trance, I guess, because it's just so many runs repetitively over and over and over?
We've had days at the American Qualifier where we're 13 hours worth of breakaway runs. So yeah, it's very, very easy to be on that line when you've got 120 girls to watch and make sure everything works correctly, and that every girl's start is the same, and everybody's, that nobody obviously broke the barrier in case it pulled early or whatever. I've been at that rodeo where, pusher fell into the barrier, pulled it early, and the line guy's like, no, she obviously beat it. He gave her the +10, and nobody argued, because there's usually somebody, the flagger, or maybe even somebody on the line that says, oh yeah, that was a great call. But how much would it have been better at that instance to say, all right, we're going to take 20 seconds and we're going to look at it, and a lot of times we have that capability at WCRA events and PBRs, but we had it of 1 year at the American, and it was awesome. Got to use it a few times, but then the next year it went away. We don't know why, but I'm sure it was probably a production issue or maybe even a cost issue. But there's so much money on the line for these Cowboys now. That's a $50,000 call at Houston. Whether it's the right call or wrong call, it could have been looked at to make sure it was the right call.
Exactly right. Making sure that it's the right call in any situation. But again, you don't want it to be abused, but a chance at that. And then we've seen it again at Austin with Corey Solomon. I turned on Austin. Actually, I seen it on social media. Hey, did something happen to Corey Solomon? Too bad they didn't have instant replay. I went back and watched it, and I was like, yeah, something did happen. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a great camera angle. It looked like he was nodding. He left, and then he pulled, so maybe the gate didn't open like it was supposed to, or like he thought it was supposed to. Again, another rodeo that pays $10,000 to win first. Opportunity at a trip to the national finals or a gold buckle. We talked about in another show, we talked about the 10th round of the national finals. It boils down to that one head. Well, not necessarily. You might need to win $10,000 or $9,900. Well, if you win Austin and win that $10,000 there where you didn't get the call that should have went your way, that could have helped catapult you to that world championship as well. There's so much throughout the regular season that could benefit you at the very last one you run or compete on.
Cowboys that compete, we understand. If you do miss winning a world title at the NFR by $100, that could go to any animal that you bucked off of, or you missed a leg, or you missed a barrier and you took you 10 more, 5 more seconds to get him caught to throw him down. I mean, there's everything during the year adds up to the end. It's good for the NFR to make it a big, huge drama deal right at the very end, and that's what the rodeo's made for. But we could still, especially at that rodeo, let's not let a bad call in the 10th round be the deciding factor. We could look at it and fix a mark out or a crossfire, or whether a guy got a calf up or not, or whether a bulldogger had his hand on a steer or not. That could implement how that works out, and I believe we got the capability to do it. I'm just throwing this out there. Longview, Texas, it's a small Texas rodeo. They probably don't have the setup to do replay there. But at the bigger rodeos, Denver, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, San Angelo, and even in the summer, the Cody, Wyoming, Oakley, Utah, places where they're already using the screens. I've been talking to these guys that do that stuff, production guys, and we know what it would take. I talked to one of them yesterday. You're talking a 3-play device that shows different angles on the cameras, a camera on each side, and one guy to one of the replay cameras. So you only add one actual worker to their crew, and they usually have the other stuff set up anyway. Well,
again, I hope the future of rodeo is really considering it. I mean, when I mean future, I guess the PRCA, American, get that back going, because that's life-changing money at some of these situations. And I know the fans are gonna love listening to your insight on it, Royd, because you've experienced it as a contestant, maybe getting a bad call, but now as a judge, getting to maybe turn those calls over to go the right way. So, Royd, I appreciate you coming on the show. Looking forward to seeing you at the next one.
You bet, buddy. My pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Have a good day. Thanks. Your stash game's strong today.
Yep, it's about to come off.